Hello everybody, Imminent Storm here, and today we're going to be starting up a new series of Hearts of Iron 4 with the Millennium Dawn Total Conversion mod. In this series, we're going to be playing a nation of my particular choosing, unlike the last series, which was the Germany campaign, which was the result of a viewer poll to select what nation we were going to play. This one, I decided what nation I wanted to play. And you already know what nation that is because you read the video title. And we are going to be playing in this series as the small island nation of Fiji, here in the South Pacific. And so why did I choose Fiji? Well, I was looking for a nation that would provide a significant challenge. And usually that means someone who is small, has very few military assets, very little industry, no resources, no budget, all that kind of stuff. You start with basically nothing, and we need to try and snowball into a superpower eventually by the end of the game. So that's what we're going to do. And the reason why I went with Fiji is there's a number of different nations that could serve that purpose, certainly, all over the place. Like in Asia, any number of these Pacific nations. We could go with a bunch of different nations in Africa, Djibouti, for example, Lesotho, Swaziland, Benin, Togo, Gambia, for example. Also in Europe, you could go as Andorra. Like that would be a start. San Marino, the Vatican, any number of other nations. But I've played in Europe. I've played in Africa before. I wanted to go somewhere slightly different. And so my attention turned to the South Pacific, and why I chose Fiji in particular out of the various nations in the South Pacific that you can play as is that Fiji, for whatever reason, has a fully custom national focus tree. So it does not use the generic national focus tree that any other nation would use. So that got my attention, and so we're going to give this one a try. See how it goes. Now, what is the plan? What is the objective for the series? Nothing out of the ordinary. The objective is to, 1, become the head of a faction, either by creating that faction or taking over another faction. Destroying all other opposing factions, either by conquering them or puppeting them out of existence. And by removing all other nations in the world that could potentially be a threat to us. And we'll have to evaluate what that is as we progress through the series. But usually that involves like Australia, Japan, China, Russia, India, most of the European nations. If anything big starts to amalgamate in Africa, Brazil, the United States. Usually the United States gets saved as kind of a final boss for the series, unless something forces me to deal with them sooner, or they get absorbed by somebody else and I have to take them out as part of another nation. So, we'll see how that goes. Now, one other thing I wanted to discuss before we get started, for the benefit of those who may be new the channel, new to my Hearts of Iron 4 series, and not sure exactly what to expect here. What I do on this channel is long-form Let's Play style Hearts of Iron 4 campaigns, which means I'm going to show just about every single minute of this entire campaign. I would think so. Unless there's something that causes me to have to skip stuff. Now, typically, Hearts of Iron 4 campaign for me usually takes around, I don't know, 45 to 60 hours. So expect 90 plus episodes, 30 to 45 minutes long. So just establishing the expectation there right away. All right. With all the preamble out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in and get started and see what we have on our hands here. Well, for resources, we have nothing. For budget, we're in the red. We are making almost no political power per day. We have 3 research slots, so let's go ahead and fill those in. I'm going to take construction 1 because we're going to have to build some stuff. That's going to take 955 days. Oh, goodness gracious. Industrial electrospun polymetric nanofibers for factory output. Yeah. And what do we have here? We have a little bit of early computing technology. Let's go for microprocessors. All right, we got a lot of ground to cover. How many civilian factories do we have at our disposal? 1. We have 1 civilian factory at our disposal, so let's build another one. And this is new with the current version of Millennium Dawn energy, because I have updated to the latest version of the game at the time of this recording, and the latest version of Millennium Dawn at the time of this recording, and this is the version that everything is going to stay as we go. I have poked around a little bit, so I'm a bit familiar with this. Here, operational fossil fuel power plants. We have 1. We have no nuclear reactors. We have no renewable parks. Stored energy. No power restrictions. Some additional consumption. Heavy additional consumption. Local power gain. Construction speed. Tax revenue. Heavy additional consumption, and we can afford that. As we begin to build up industry, we might not be able to afford that, but for now we can afford that. All right. We need to set a national focus, and the only one we can set right now is the 1999 general elections. All right, and we'll actually read through this. Let's see. In 1999, the Fijian general elections were held, which organized a new government, the Fijian Labour Party, taking a majority of the seats in its parliament. The main opposition, the SVT, or Soko ni, I'm gonna butcher this, Vakavulewa ni Tauke would take second place. The dynamic being set as the Labour Party was considered as the center left and the SVT being a center right. However, in third place, we have the FAP, or Fijian Association Party, a splinter group of the SVT. It was considered ironically more right, being predominantly ethnic Fijians. However, a change in leadership would lead to the known softening of the party as they would create the electoral alliance with the FLP. All right. Let's go. We have unassigned divisions. We'll assign them to an army. We have 4 divisions, 3 light infantry battalions that have basically nothing in them, and a special forces unit that has a little bit in it. We have 1 commander, Muhammad Aziz. There we go. Hold on a minute. Something's kind of stuck in my mouth there a little bit. All right. Pretty much nothing else we can do. Like, I don't think trying to train any light infantry is going to be an option here. We have no military factories, so we cannot produce any equipment. Do we have anything in stockpile? We have a little bit in stockpile. All right. Oh. Let's go. There's the USS Cole bombing. Man, what does this actually do? Political power plus 50, gain base stability plus 3%, gain base war support plus 5%. Now, fair warning, the beginning of this series is almost certainly going to be very, very slow. Because there really isn't anything that I can do right now. Chechnya was puppeted. Very well. Mass protests in Iran. Iran is facing mass protests this week as people from all walks of life have come out in droves to retaliate against the recent government crackdown on a small demonstration in the north of the country. Protesters are marching on the capital, Tehran, and have for the most part begun fighting the security forces in an attempt to push them out of the city. The Supreme Leader has enacted a complete lockdown after dark, and the IRGC has been sent in with orders to take anyone in that is suspected to be a protester. This new wave of protests has sent shock waves across the Middle East and the rest of the world, as Iranians only recently had brought the Islamic Republic into power and are now trying to overthrow them. Oh yeah, in case I forgot to mention, I have turned all the nations that I possibly can on random, so I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, other than the normal scheduled events. Alright, 1999 general elections. Assessing the national situation. Despite the promise of the new election, we must get our bearings and understand what it is we need to seek and fix. The turmoil of our fair nation's independence has been one of political strife and coup after coup after coup. As such, we must make haste unless we fall to the same kind of quagmire. So we get political power plus 40, base stability plus 2%, base war support plus 3%. Change the Fijian economy modifier, political power gain by 7%. Fijian economy modifier ideology drift defense by minus 5%. I should probably take a look at that. Commonwealth of Nations member. Daily political power gain up. Justify war goal time up. Influence defense through chaos. Let's see. Fiji has been independent since the 1970s. Unfortunately, independence hasn't been the glory and peace we'd hoped for. Civil and military coups, rampant ethnic tensions have caused the nation to essentially be on pause compared to most of the world. However, with the chaos, there comes a sort of natural barrier, as foreign nations are wary to lose assets in such a small region due to said chaos. Therefore, we have a higher than expected national defense from foreign influence. A double-edged sword to be sure, but for the time, works in our favor. It works in our favor. All right. Non-power. Homelessness crisis. Political power gain minus 25%. Monthly population minus 25%. Tax cost factor 10%. Construction speed minus 50%. Tax revenue multiplier minus 10%. With the political instability in the nation, the government has completely lacked in corrective and decisive action by the government. That's a strange sentence. But attend to the growing homeless crisis as the new millennia begins. Many wonder if the government can actually fix this growing crisis and plaguing the nation. Okay. Mass immigration crisis. With the political instability, climate change, and rising ethnic tensions in the minds to change Fiji have seen it best to leave Fiji for better lives. New government to set the ground for a better tomorrow. So people are emigrating away from us. Research speed down, factory output down, dockyard output down, healthcare cost multiplier up, Fijian military. The Fijian economy. So this is this thing that a lot of our focuses are going to be modifying. Right. Indo-Fijian tensions. The national electric grid. Okay. No penalties from lack of fuel because we do have a strategic reserve, but we are draining it because we don't have any oil of our own and we're not importing anything because we don't have any civilian factories. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We have 3 years before we need to worry about it at the moment. All right, how long is it going to take me to build that factory? The 23rd of April, 2019. It's going to take me 19 years to build it. Hopefully, we will either get some event factories or some bonuses there. Reactor grade material. No, we're not going to be buying reactor grade material. Deal out startup money. Invest $351 million to support domestic companies. 25% of this sum we move to our international investments. Increases construction speed by 25%. I think we have some things we need to work out before we get to that. All right. Increase Suva law enforcement. Capital is uneasy. We're afraid more ethnic violence may come to those with businesses in the area. Those with businesses in the area who are seen as... This is all really strangely worded. Needs some proofreading. Recent election of a majority Indo-Fijian government. Okay. No loans for small businesses. An issue has been raised to us. Many CEOs of smaller businesses are saying that banks have become more and more reluctant to loan them money. A representative from the bankers, however, stated that it's perfectly normal that the banks don't loan money to every revolutionary juice maker someone invents. You lose some political power to gain some opinion with small and medium business owners. Provide the smaller companies with state-backed loans. We will lose $0.07 billion or $70 million. You know what? I'll take the treasury hit. I mean, we're already in a negative. Vladimir Putin of the United Russia, emerging outlook, and single-handedly defeated all challengers and will take over. No changes there. Yep, we have no space program. We also have no political power. We are at negative 0.57 political power per day. Beautiful. All right, increase Suva law enforcement is done. Now, I have looked at this, and there really isn't anything else we can do. The next thing we're waiting for is the 2000 debacle, which is always false until something happens that lets us bypass it. So we are waiting for that to happen. At the turn of the century, the island of Fiji was struck by an ethno-nationalist coup. I guess is what we are waiting to have happen. The attempted coup was eventually suppressed by a counter coup by the military. However, since then, the confidence in the civilian government has been at an all-time low. Now the current ruling party and even its opposition must look to see if they can restore hope to the peoples of Fiji. So, we're waiting for that to happen. A ceasefire between Ethiopia and Eritrea. The government of Ethiopia and Eritrea have agreed to cease hostilities and declare a ceasefire ever since the conflict started in 1998. The Organization of African Unity has been trying to propose a peace plan to solve the border conflict between the two countries. It seems that the countries have finally agreed to try and solve their issues peacefully. Alright, we actually have decent stability at the moment. Nationalist kidnap government officials. Earlier today, on May 19th, 2000, members of the pro-ethnic Fijian political movement known as Itauke have taken hostage key members of the newly elected and most ethnically Indo-Fijian government. Mostly ethnically Indo-Fijian government. The Prime Minister and several key government officials were taken hostage in the Parliament building with the, rebel members pretty much barricaded inside. Negotiations are ongoing to extract the hostages without loss of life. We lose political power, we lose stability, we lose war support. The Fiji Labour Party becomes a ruling party. Public elections will not be held. It gets interim government created. Interim government created. Following the events and a stalemate on negotiations with the rebels, President Kamisese Mara, I think that's how you would say that, declared a state of emergency and has created a continued government from what was left of the currently held hostage government members not captured. Tensions are high as local police and Republic of Fiji military forces, or the RFMF, have been stretched with creating the bailing cordon around the parliament, along with dealing with growing protests and civil unrest as protesters targeted several Indo-Fijian businesses in Suva. We gain some political power, but lose more stability and more war support. So much for having some decent stability. I can select a chief of army. And chief of air force. That's because I have some political power. But you know what? I am not going to do that right now. Because we are burning that political power off. If I burn 100 political power right now, we will start going negative. Oh, we're paused. All right. Lost authority causes military coup. As the remnants of the civilian government have proven their inability to genuinely exercise executive authority, the RFMF commander, Frank Bainimarama, that's close, has ousted the standing government and established their own. Their first action was establishing martial law, giving them more freedom to deal with the massive amounts of civil unrest. So I can say, here we go again. This event, gunfire exchanged at Parliament. We lose political power, we lose base stability, we lose war support. Nationalist outlook becomes the ruling party. Or the military will solve this. We gain political power. We don't lose as much space stability. We don't lose as much war support. We get the event military zealots. You know what? We'll take that one. The government idea naive worldview has been removed because its prerequisites are no longer fulfilled. Human idea, welfare state has been removed. Human idea, peaceful diplomacy, local security has been removed. We are actually going positive political power per day for the moment. Military zealots. With the chaos that the coup has caused, some military personnel have taken an unwarranted aggressive approach, outright defying the wishes of Commodore Frank Bainimarama. Tensions are escalating and cohesion within the military is beginning to break down. We lose 100 political power and 30 more base stability and 30% more war support. Well, I don't think we can go any lower base stability. We are still growing political power, though, for the moment. Rumors of a raid grow. Recently, there have been rumors that a sect of the military junta, under more radically minded leaders, has come up with a plan to storm the parliament building and take out the hostages. Do they mean take them out, or get them out of there? The Commodore has been seen scrambling to find these radical officers in order to prevent a national crisis not seen since the first coup back in the 1980s. Time will tell if level-headed people or chaos will rule the lands. None of these. I'll take it's oddly quiet today. What is this? Guatemala is proposing a trade agreement. Sure. We still haven't bypassed that yet. Gunfire exchange to Parliament. Following the military's coup, the 1997 Constitution was revoked. Negotiations broke down with the military issuing an ultimatum. Foreign powers began a host of sanctions, from Fiji being removed from the Commonwealth, several nations banning Fijian goods, and Fijian sports teams being banned. These responses were due to the notion of giving in to the rebel demands. On the 12th of June, the military fired warning shots at George Spite's vehicle. Though Spite claims it was a failed assassination attempt. Negotiations are still ongoing and more hostages have been released. With civil unrest calming down and things looking hopeful, many wonder how much longer this will last. Minus political power, base stability, which is already 0, and base war support. I'd like to at least get through this series of events so that we can actually start working on more national focuses. Hafez al-Assad dies. Military agrees with rebels. On July 3rd, 2000, Bainimarama claimed Lysenia Karase as prime minister. Unnamed, this person. Heading an all-indigenous Fijian government. Spite was outraged by the decision, and a gun battle broke out at Parliament the next day, in which 5 people were injured. Chaos escalated, and rebels staged a number of incidents around the country. Soldiers at the Suku Naivalu barracks and Labasa mutinied and declared support for Spite. Local landowners took over Monasavu Dam, cutting power to Suva. On the 8th, the rebels blocked the road between Suva and Nadi and stormed the police station in Korovu, taking 30 hostages. At Naboro prison, 50 inmates rioted, taking guards hostage. Well, we get political power, we get some base stability back, and some war support back. Government idea, army of yes men has been removed. Systematic corruption, political power has been removed. Government idea, unlimited power has been removed. Yeah, we are gaining political power because we are not working on a focus. The Kursk submarine disaster. The Armed Forces Revolutionary Council has capitulated. Sierra Leone government has gone into exile. Proposed trade agreement, Costa Rica. I'm not sure what that does for me. The coup ends. Throughout the months of June and July, semi-continual negotiations would permeate the nation as a reform of the civilian government would be talked about. Eventually, more and more hostages would be released, with the rebels leaving the parliament building and migrating from the capital area. Eventually, on the 26th of July, Spite and his spokesman, Joe Nata, were arrested near a military checkpoint after threats toward the new president and of civil war were lobbed from the two rebel leaders. Soon after, the military would storm the rebel headquarters, arresting 369 additional rebels. The civilian coup was declared ended not long after George Spite would be tried for treason and sentenced to death. All right, well, that seems to be over. National focus bypass, the 2000 debacle. All right. That opens up these three paths. I think we're going to take this center one. We get some negatives out of it, but eventually we get good positives out of it. Leads to the 2001 Fijian general elections. All right. Nationalist attacks. Despite Spates? Is it spate or spite? Violence by rebels continued. On July 31st, Spate supporters terrorized the village of Dreketi, taking 30 hostages. Soldiers who had mutinied at the Suku Naivalu barracks did not surrender for 6 weeks on 8th of August. Rebels ambushed a military patrol, killing 1 soldier and a policeman, wounding 3 others. All right, so we just need to work through those. And the Fijian Association Party is currently the ruling party. All right, but now we're negative on political power again. Yeah, base stability down, war support down, manpower down. -2 manpower. China joins the World Trade Organization. All right. Military mutiny. On November 2nd, 2000, soldiers of the Counter-Revolutionary Warfare Unit loyal to Spate mutinied in the Queen Elizabeth Barracks mutiny, holding officers hostage in an attempt to depose military commander Frank Bainimarama. 2 soldiers were killed and 10 were injured when the military retook the barracks. 4 of the rebels were tortured and killed by local soldiers in the aftermath. We lose 6 manpower. The 6 guys who died. All right, then. Well, been a bit of a rocky start. But, you know, go through it. And then after we get this one done, we get some positives, and then we can start working on these to get a lot of good bonuses. Hey, that one gives me a building slot and some civilian industry and a fossil fuel power plant. Yes, please. It costs 10.75 billion. Yikes. Gonna have a debt crisis almost certainly. Let's see. We might need to go down this route first. Because this is going to be very expensive. But we need that civilian industry. Alright, well, we'll see how it goes. But for now, we'll stop here. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you next time.